Hey everybody, this is Simon, head of business development in Altacom and also a founder of MSP Community Baltics. Today I'm here to speak about friendly backup solutions for everyone. Either you are MSP or enterprise IT admin, it's for you. If you haven't been in contact with me or my colleagues from Altacom, you can contact me via details below. Quick notice, any link or thing that is outside of this presentation will be there. If you feel that you're missing something, just let me know. Write me an email and we'll fix it. So let's start. Um, I have pretty much four topics today to discuss. First of them is, what is that friendly backup solution in the first place? How can it help you? Either if you're, yet again, MSP or IT pro, why should you care? And of course, there is a hint in this video. Why do you must to watch this video till the end? You only see in the end, right? So let's go ahead. Well, those friendly backup solutions, right? I would start with, of course, they must have to be hybrid. Why? Because, you all know about 1, 2, 3. On-site, off-site backup, both are very important. And if you can handle both in one software, well, I consider it to be friendly. Security, of course, if it's, at rest or on transit data, it must be secured, it must be encrypted. Um, you know, maybe someone is sniffing your packets or whatever. It's a must in 21st century, I would say. Scalability, it doesn't matter if you're a big enterprise or MSP, you always need to think about scalability, how scalable your solution is. Do you have to add more storage into your devices? Do you have to buy more virtual storage in some data centers? Or, simply if your software is capable of handling multiple devices. So that is that. Of course, how easy it is to use. Do both sysadmins, that are taking care of those things to be set up, and users, because in some cases it might be an ability to restore files yourself, so you save that time for both your sysadmins and yourself. So I consider it to be very important. Customer focused, first of all, the how many restore points there is, what is retention policy, and all those kind of things. How happy will be customer after something happens, what is the disaster recovery capabilities and stuff like that. Prevention, will that backup be restored? Uh, People working in this field for many years know that it's not 100% guaranteed that it will be restored in some cases for some software. So I will consider it to be friendly if it does restore, and does it very fast and good. And of course, I don't imagine myself using, just image-based backups anymore. Strongly feel that you should be able to restore from one, file to whole system if you need, or to just wake up it in virtual machine if some disaster happens. It just has to be versatile. So that is what I think is a friendly backup solution. And moving forward, how can it help you? Well, as everyone would say, happy customer, happy life. I'm thinking the same thing. Imagine yourself if you're doing, backup once a week or twice a week, and disaster happens. So when will this customer be happy, if you say that, yeah, I have it 3 days ago, or I have it, done last night, and you lost only half a day or a day of backups of your files. Um, of course, you would say, yeah, Simon, once a day is a must. I would say once an hour, once a 30-minute is a must. So that's what I consider a happy customer, when you will be able to say that, look, I have like backup that was done 15 minutes ago. if the file was saved that is missing now, or all the system is crashed or whatever, you're able to restore everything to almost, the latest version the customer had. Um, of course, one solutions for all customers is very important for MSPs, but it is important for enterprises as well, right? So imagine if you can have one software that will back up some files for, maybe managers or sales managers or whatever, where they only need, Excels, PDFs, PowerPoints, maybe PSD or things like that, just work files. So that is awesome. What if you need, server backup? What if you need the whole workstation backup because it has some drawing or video files, or some kind of other media files that is very necessary for you, but they're heavy in size. And of course, email. Who is now not using email? I think you who are listening today, you will agree with me that most of you are using email every day, and it's very important in your business life. So having all that data there is very important. And what if something happens to Microsoft? It's if you're using MS 365, sometimes it happens. There was an issues previously where a lot of files were gone from SharePoints and OneDrives of companies, and some emails missing because some data centers, I don't know, lost data, whatever. But it happens. It can happen to anyone, even to Microsoft. And at this point, how happy you are if you have those backups and you are able to restore. I'm not even speaking about, conflicts where people are deleting or hiding some information and deleting emails. And if it's not looked on the right time, well, it's gone. So I really feel that having every single point of view being able to be backed with one solution, I feel that that thing can both help you and is a very friendly backup solution. Um, and of course, some more jokes, I know from my experience working with MSPs that some of the guys that are working in one-man army or two-man army, as I say, for some of them, it's 3, 5 years that they never been on holidays. If you are alone, it's of course harder. If you're two people, they could cover for each other, right? But not always, because in some cases, things happens. There is different software used for different customers, different settings, some little tinkering done there and there, and only you know that. So you can probably relate to that. You've been on holidays and someone is calling you to ask for some things about your customers because they don't know about it. They don't know where to find it and how to handle it. So if you have solution that is simple to use and you can pretty much standardize your portfolio, I do really believe that that is very important and will help you a lot in future. So just think about it. Of course, why should you care? Well, first of all, in general, it depends how much that data that is in backups is important for your business to run. What happens if all your data is gone right now? Are you able to continue business or are you done? Um, how important data will you lose? I think these are the first answers that anyone has to answer, right? Uh, if you're saying that without it you cannot continue, I don't imagine you now without backup. If you're not doing it, start thinking about it, start finding out best solutions for you. If you need help, of course, I can help you. But apart from that, speak with your MSP if you're an enterprise user, or speak, with me if you're MSP. I mentioned first one is profit. So for anyone in business, well, it's called a business for a reason. It's not a charity organization, right? So any business is working for profit because only profit will help you to grow, will help you to advance and to sustain your business. So without the profit, it's done. And good backup solutions will help you to generate profit in multiple ways, either saving your time and you're being able to do more projects, or just literally selling more of it, of different versions of it, will help you to increase your revenue in which you can also increase your profits. So depending on that, of course, standardization and stuff like that, we could speak about this multiple hours, but I really don't want to keep you here too long. I always want to do a very short presentations just to save your time because I know how busy people are in business. Well, and I know it from myself. Today I'm woke up at 6 in the morning and I will be recording and doing all the stuff till the very night probably. But this is just how we live. And I, of course, went a little bit into this, but more opportunities. Well, as I spoke before, your customer might be using only servers backup, but maybe there is management, C-level or salespeople who actually are traveling a lot, and they do need those backups, just in case something happens. So you can sell those. You can sell Microsoft 365 backups. I'm seeing a huge raise in numbers now in selling MS 365 backups because people do understand that actually email is one of the most important things in work, and they started using the service a lot. So those more opportunities means that you simply can, find the new customers, but you can sell more to the existing customers, giving those giving just the more value, even more than you're doing right now, pretty much. Um, of course, one of the things that you should care is trainings. Do you get enough trainings, sufficient trainings, good trainings, and stuff like that? So I know a vendor that is doing pretty good trainings in MSP Institute. As I mentioned before, you will be able to find the link down below in the video description. And I just, will tell you that it's not only about backup. You will find there a lot of trainings. Uh, you will also are able to have those trainings and sessions with us, right? Both uh, sales or technical ones, we can help you out as well. But this product vendor is helping us a lot by creating huge chunks of trainings. So take a look into those, learn, and well, if you're a sysadmin but you have to sell something, check into sales part. If you're sales guy but you want to understand a little bit more about how it works, just look into technical part, right? Learn about it, and trust me, it will help you a lot in the future. And today I'm kind of done. We will meet again after a short video that I will add into this presentation. And this video is taken from a presentation done by all SolarWinds MSP people. Now it's called Enable. And well, I personally know Jan Garzinus Jogsma. Sorry, Netherlands name is not my strong part. Awesome guy. He actually was one of the three guys who developed the YASO backup, and now it's known as Enable Backup solution. So this is what I consider one of the most friendliest backup solutions right now in the market, and I looked through a lot of that. Um, I could have added a lot of comments from our customers, our partners even, and of course enable partners that are saying nice things about the backups, but I don't want to tell all those kind of things. I want you to look into the video that is going to be next and just open your eyes and see what they have to show. You will see what I mean. And I don't need to brag about something. I don't need to share other opinions. The only thing that I want to share that I don't think was ever in there compared to other solutions that you would buy, for example, Amazon storage or any other data center storage, you have to look also in a price build up because sometimes it's not only the price of the product that matters, but also the price that will happen with those backups and restore points. Because some of the data centers are charging extra for any gigabyte transfer, either download or transfer. So these rates can apply into doing backups. And when it stacks up, oh my God, it can be very expensive. That I know from one of our partners. And I'm happy to share this story because I was never aware of that. If you are, well, good to you. If you're not, now you are. So be aware of that. And if you want to know about the product itself more, and we haven't spoken about it yet, just reach out to me or, as I said, to my colleagues. You will find those contacts in the video description. And now I'm just giving Keith and John some space. They will do that presentation, and afterwards I will come back.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. In this current economy of COVID, lockdowns, and restrictions, I hope your spirits are positive and that your tests absolutely negative. My name is Keith Young. I'm the Principal Sales Engineer for SolarWinds Backup. I'm passionate about a lot of things, but more importantly, I'm passionate about helping our partners succeed. More importantly, about backup and disaster recovery. And as I've been doing this for about 10 years now, that passion is stronger than ever. So one of the reasons we are here today is that we speak with many MSPs about image-based backup, such as Veeam, Altero, and some other appliance-based backups like Datto and Unitrends. And I hear some interesting feedback. And today, we're going to discuss the illusions created by those backup vendors, possibly do some myth busting, and at the very least, reveal some truths that don't always get highlighted, but have some real consequences. There is a famous old phrase that folks in the IT industry say, and it sounds something like this: nobody has ever been fired for buying IBM. And we understand that because it's such a great, strong brand. And in the last 5 years, we've met with many managed service providers who it seems have felt the same thing about backup, whether it's Veeam, StorageCraft, Datto, and others. And if you've arrived here today feeling that way, well, that's okay. You're not alone. Lionel Naidu here on screen, he's one of our great partners as well. He's a great example. There's hundreds more. Why consider change when you are using the best product? So let's take a closer look at what Lionel discovered. Image backups are just what the name states: an image of your entire operating system, including files, executables, the program, the OS configurations. With an image backup, you can restore single files, directories, and entire disks to the same machine, ideally in a virtual environment. While speaking with MSPs, often the first question I hear is, are you file-based or image-based? At that point, I'm thinking to myself, you're asking the wrong question. What you really want is image-based recovery, not image-based backup. The truth is, you do not need an image-level backup to recover as an image. A virtual machine is just a series of files organized in a very specific way. If you back up all the data from within the operating system, you can create virtual machines quickly and easily, assuming you have the right software. Image-based backups are far from ideal, especially for the managed service provider environment. So let's dig a little deeper within some of these issues. When we're talking about far from ideal, it starts with change rate. So what do we mean by that? In a lab environment, we took a 45 gig server, we backed it up using 2 of the most popular image-based backup solutions. And on the initial backup image, we saw that it compressed down to 27 gigs. So far, so good, right? But then we looked at the daily incrementals as the size of the storage kept growing and growing and growing. And we can see that by day 11, we had 81 gigs of data, much larger than the original production machine. The important number to focus on is the change rate. And this is something I encourage you to look at within your own environments. In the case of the first product, the change rate was averaging 11%. In the case of the second, we can see it averaging just around 5. Now, if we consider a production server of 500 gigs, so we're going to take this test a little bigger now. Let's look at the impact assuming a 6% change rate. That means your incrementals are averaging 30 gigs. Now, looking at SolarWinds Backup, on a 500 gig server, you're going to see incrementals of just half a gig. Now, I don't want to wow you with my math skills, but let's say you're keeping 60 restore points for a customer, 60 dailies or 30 days with 2 backups per day. If you take 60 incrementals, multiply that by 30 gigs, you are now adding 1,800 gigs to the initial backup or the base image. This means you need at least 2,150 gigs of storage for that server. With SolarWinds Backup, the incrementals are 60 times smaller. You just need 380 gigs. This isn't a 10% improvement. This is a transformational event. So JG, I'd like to hand you the keys and show our friends today the dash.
Thanks, Keith. So good afternoon, everyone. Jan Gersines, as JG in short, from the Netherlands, not this side of the world. Keith is actually in Canada. And I'm now going to try to show my screen. Hopefully that all works out nicely. Is that correct? Yeah, I can see that is correct. All right, so what I want to do today is I want to show you briefly an overview of the SolarWinds Backup software, and not only maybe for people that already have seen it or work with it, but I'd like to show you some key things on how we think you can make the most out of it. And we do that based on a different service level offering that you can create and adjust. So this is the total overview of your of the dashboard. This is a demo dashboard, obviously. You can see there's an overview of workstations, servers, and Microsoft 365 tenants. It's not mailboxes, but this is the tenant count. And you can see the status, if they are completed or still running, or again running, and if they're completed recently or not. So it gives you a nice quick overview of what's going on. All these lines in the bottom here in this grid are displaying a device or a Microsoft 365 tenant. As you can see, the first line is a server, the second line is a Microsoft 365 tenant. They're all grouped by customers, and this is made as a 100% MSP, managed service provider tool. That you have a reseller level and you have end customers below. Technically, an end customer could even log in and manage their own specific part of the software. So I'd like to guide you quickly through the system based on my quick service level example. And first, we'll start with bronze, which we think is applicable to, well, the majority of customers at least, and there is definitely space for upselling opportunities. So this is a way how we set it up in the demo. If you buy the software, if you use the software, you could create your own SLAs without increase of your cost. It's just how you set it up. How can you improve this, the value to the customers? In this case, we've installed 17 machines, 16 servers and 1 workstation. I'll open this up in the top. And you can see they are spread over multiple customers. You can sort on everything here as well. And you can also see the approach that we take. And obviously, because of the content of this webinar, we are very keen on avoiding backups of images. They are just not efficient enough. It's not that they're wrong, but they're not efficient enough. And we can do so much better. So as you can see here, apart from this Ubuntu machine, we can back up and restore machines from files and folders, system state. It will automatically detect that, but also SQL, or if it would be their Exchange or SharePoint or anything else. That's all built-in functionality to make sure that we have a complete setup of the system. That will result in a selected size. How big is that machine? It will also result in used storage, but that's the amount of storage we have to store in the data center, including all your retention and archiving points. And well, this behavior and on how we work with customers and how we set it up is always equal in any service level. What we then do is we're gonna decide based on a few extra features how we're gonna specify the service levels, like what is bronze, what is silver, what is gold. And we have 4 main items for the service level to decide. The first one is the retention. I'll go a bit more to the right. The first one is retention. How long do you want to offer normal daily retention? This means, in this case, 30-day retention. Any backup that happens in 30 days is going to be restorable, like anything. If you back up once a day or multiple times per day, 30 days just gives every backup in that slot is available. That's one. So you can decide the number here, obviously, for a better service level or not so good service level. Second thing is, are you going to add archives on top of that? That's an extra option. It's included in the price, but it's an extra option. You can enable that. That means that outside of your standard retention policy, you can lock your sessions for for longer periods, like you could work with a 7-year retention policy for end of month backups or beginning of month backups that you want to lock as an archive set that we keep outside of your standard retention. So that's obviously a second option, but you can see it's all 0 on this side, meaning it is technically possible, but we're not doing it for bronze because that's sort of the low level and that's not included. So bronze is for us 30-day retention policy with no archives, and I'll skip a bit to the right, and we add a profile, and the profile is the behavior of the software, sort of in the bigger picture. And the behavior consists of 3 things. First thing is what is included in your backup, and the inclusions are standardized as much as possible, obviously, and the inclusions normally will include all the plugins that it finds, that it automatically detects, and also your complete data and information. Second thing that the image does is something else, and I need to get a little bit of more details from this machine. I can actually right-click on the machine and say launch internal info page. At this stage, it's now going to download specific information from that machine, like VSS writer statuses and the whole thing around, well, lots of background information. But it's also going to show me something else. It's going to show me this, files not to backup. This is a registry key that it just read from the system, where Microsoft says, don't make a backup of your temporary internet files. Don't back up your recycle bin or your swap file or anything like this. And I think that most people will agree you don't need this because it's just not needed for a disaster recovery or any data restore. So we respect this, we like it. We use this as well in our software by default, so you don't have to exclude anything of this because that already happens. But this is nice for Edge and Internet Explorer, but nothing for Firefox or Chrome or Safari. It does nothing for third-party antivirus. It does nothing for patch management engines that run on those machines as well. Those are high change rate software vendors normally that have like lots of changes on a daily basis that you don't need. So this is good, but you need something else. And that's what we deliver in the profile. We can deliver an extra layer of filtering to be smarter on all your backups. And the third thing we do in the profile is deciding on the frequency within 24 hours. So how frequent per day are we going to backup? And if you do that in the bronze level, we suggested once a day backup. And you can see here it runs during midnight, sort of, and the change rate here, this is what you can see for the file of all the change rate is around a few 100 megabyte changes average. And that's totally fine. If you would do an image level backup, this would be 3 to 10 gigabyte of changes. So you can imagine the difference here. And the duration is also, well, quick. This runs once a day. And the slowest backups, and there are also backups running like from the Netherlands to South Africa, from the Netherlands to Australia, that obviously takes a while. And so it's a bit slower. That's not a big issue. It's 1.6 million files almost. So it's not a big issue. Totally fine. And that's what you can do. What you can also do, you can also move to silver and do something else. Different machines, 20 machines. Again, you can see the approach here for files and folder system state, but we did something else. We added archives, we changed the product retention, and we changed the profile. And I'd like to show you that in real life, how that looks. If I open up a machine, I can go, this is a nice way to actually go into the software through a proxy that we have. And I can go into restore, and I can show you this is not a once a day restore. This machine already ran 4 times today. You can see the last one is just after, it's now 2:25. This is, well, not very long ago. Yesterday, I have 6 backups a day. As you can see, every 4 hours, a new backup is happening, and it runs 6 times a day. So that's already way better, obviously, than 1 backup per day. Second thing that it does, it's not 30, but 60 days. As you can see, I can go back till completely mid of January. And the third thing it does, it's adding archive points at the end of the month. I can go back to December 2019, still have that session, and I can open up and restore. So that's a very nice addition, which is included in the software. You just have to set it up. So archive sessions, retention for a longer per day retention, and a different profile. But the profile does something else. The profile increases the frequency, as I just showed you, to more recent. It was 12 a.m. and now it says 12 p.m. So this is after lunch. It was a few hundred megabytes, and now you see 70, 50, 80, 50, 70, 60, 70. It's going to be smaller because it will split the data during the day. And if you split it, the duration is going to shrink as well. Look at this. Those backups take around 2 minutes. So why wouldn't you do that? This is all, it's all the benefit of increasing the frequency. But if this number, if you do an image backup and this number says 5 gigabyte, it's impossible to do it every hour or every 4 hours, because first of all, the line will choke, and the second thing is the storage will explode, seriously. Then the third thing that we do, or the fourth thing that we do, I'd like to show you that here, scroll to the right, is our restore automation. We have software called the recovery console, and the recovery console can do the opposite of the backup. So the backup runs on a machine, and it will do a super efficient backup, high frequent, into the cloud directly. That's ideal. And then you could say on a machine, for instance, on the local machine or in a data center, I want to restore that machine automatically into a virtual machine. As you see, we don't make a backup of the virtual machine. I mean, we're not doing it through the hypervisor. So we're making a backup of files and folders, system state, SQL, etc. But we do get it back as a virtual machine. In this case, you can see that all these restores happened recently, and the restores were quick. And in this case, we produced 20 VHDX files, just Windows images that you can mount, that you can add into a Hyper-V host and just start. They will boot. It's completely workable data that you have. In this case, it already happens. So it's just there. It keeps it up to date, and always the most recent version is there. That's nice, but that's not only that. That's not even the gold level. You could do better. You could move from silver to gold. As you can see, there are a few backups yellow here. That means they're working right now. That is because they run every hour. And if they run every hour, you can imagine there's always a few in process. By the way, we have this green color bar showing the status of the last 28 days, as it says here as well. And what we can see here, this is today. It's a Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday, and then the lighter parts are the weekend. And then we have last weekend. So you can go back and you can see this one had a failed session. We were playing a bit with some VSS stuff on these machines as a part of the demo. So sometimes we let it fail or it just fails. You can easily see when that happened and if that would be an incident or a repeating incident or yes or no. And as you can see, that's not the case. It's all recent, like within the last hour. And if you do within the last hour, the send size is even smaller. We're now talking about single digit almost. And again, duration is just very quick. And we can do something else on the right side here. This is the recovery machine, and I can try. This one booted 10 minutes ago as a Windows 10 workstation with the 2.19 timestamp. This server was working on an update. This is a 2008 server. It doesn't show the time, but this is also a recent machine. So we can convert those backups in a different machine into a VHDX file. That's one. And then we are going to mount it into a hypervisor, into a Hyper-V host in this case. We're going to boot it up during the restore process, and we're going to present that here in the software. So you know that that backup was super efficient and high frequent and very recent into the cloud, so you're safe in case something happens. Second thing is that we automate the restore in a different spot that you can continue at any more point that you want to give you the highest service level. And as you can imagine, if we go back to bronze, just doing once a day backup, which most people do, there's so much more to get, so much more to do with the software, so much more value to get. Because if you go to a customer that runs on bronze right now, and your backups are 5 minutes or something like that already, because the software is smart, you could easily say to the customer, dear customer, if your server crashes right now, you're going to lose the whole day. Shall we increase the frequency? So if something goes wrong, you will not lose the whole day. Is that worth 10 euros or the equivalent in local currency, or 20 euros easily, just by adding a higher frequency? So last thing I'd like to show you today, apart from the questions, I see a few coming in. We'll dive into that. but I'd like to show you the profiles first, and the profiles, I touched already on that. This is where we set up the behavior. So I'd like to show you the example. We have a bronze profile that says, if I run on a workstation with files and folders, I'm going to make a backup of that. I'm going to do that every 24 hours or whatever you want. I'm going to include the / means everything, and I'm going to exclude my Windows Defender scans. I'm going to exclude cache files from the antivirus product that you really don't need. This simple filter will save you 250 megabytes every day. The cache Chrome user data is also can be a very significant amount of data all the time. So anyway, you can be smart on filters and exclusions, and you could say system state. If you see system state, make a backup. If you see SQL, we're going to make a backup. If it doesn't see SQL, it will just go on and will not report an error. So it's easy how you can set that up. And after that, you will duplicate that, go into the new profile and change the frequency accordingly. And same for gold. You can see that. So that is quick overview based on the reasons why we are a fan of non-image backups. We are a fan of image restores, as you can see, but the image backup is not the standard route and not the best route to get there. All right.
That's great, JG. We have some questions coming in. Maybe we can help. Yeah. I'll shoot them out to you and see what answers we can come up with for our friends today. The first one on the list is, does SolarWinds Backup have a different UI, or is it included as a part of our RMM tool? Maybe we can clarify that for our team today.
Yeah, well, we have well, SolarWinds has two RMM solutions, both the SolarWinds RMM and Enable, and both actually have an integrated backup option. But I'll give you the honest answer. I would definitely prefer the standalone backup above the integrated versions.
Oh, for sure.
Is nice. Sorry?
Oh, no, I agree with you, yes.
Yeah, integrated is nice, but I think the power of integration is overestimated, let's say it that way. Yes, if you would integrate everything, you can see a green checkbox and you can see that the reports are there. But our standalone backup will also report back in RMM by default, and it will also add a backup check. And I think that if you just have a checkbox or a question or just a question mark or anything like that, how can you then decide what service level you can add? How can you decide how efficient it already is?
Absolutely.
That's that. Oh,
yes, yeah. There's a bit of a follow-up on that from the different UI for standalone backup and different logins. And you know, short answer to that is
I can show you that here already. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And JG, you can probably dive into one of the dashes, but they are distinct. They are unique, aren't they?
Yeah. So I'm here in RMM. I've just disconnected backup already, as you can see. There's an option here in the right corner, say SolarWinds Backup, and there you go, single sign-on, and you're in. So that's easy to do.
Right.
To deploy, we also have automation policies available that you could add here. I could deploy software from here if this customer doesn't use backup. There's an easy way to add a task here, and I have my custom SolarWinds Backup install script. Anyway, we don't have to go through it right now completely, but there are ways to easily deploy software here, and it will automatically report back with this checkbox here, check, and it will also add a backup check by default as well. You don't have to do anything there. So that's an easy way to do that. I would highly recommend doing that approach and not the 100% integrated backup, because it will limit you in features. It's the same engine, so I'm not going to say it's bad, but this is just so much more for the same price.
Yeah, I think to summarize that, it's the standalone dashboard has specific features for itself, where RMM provides a lot of monitoring and enablement features, but it's specific to the RMM dashboard, but with the exact same technology. So it's really where you may feel more comfortable. Correct. All right. So moving on to another question here that we picked up. Is it possible to make retention rules on archives?
Currently not. the archive is set now as there's not an end date on it. You can modify that if I go into, but it's manual, so it's not a policy right now. We're thinking about adjusting the software. Can't make too many statements about that, so I won't. But we understand the question, and I'd like to show you if I go to restore. If I go to archive, you can see there's a button here. If I have set up the archiving, you can see the settings here, and if I click on clean up, you can see the archive were done already, and you can manually select them and clean them up, and they will be removed. But there's almost, well, it's theoretically possible, but in real life, it's almost impossible that it will have any financial impact. So I wouldn't be too worried about it. Normally.
Yeah, and they don't really take up a lot of space. So some of our customers who frequently run up against archiving that is consuming a lot of storage space, this is a much different technology, and it's very lightweight in that we don't archive all of the data every single time. We're simply archiving changes.
Correct. Yeah, it's not a separate data set outside of your backup retention. Archiving is just one specific point in time from the retention that we keep. It's a different approach. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But very powerful, and it does exactly the same. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so you can still get your, your monthlies, quarterly, yearly archives, but they're just formatted differently. That's all. Same result, different way to get there. Let's look at another question. Hyper-V Restore was mentioned, but let's talk a little bit about VMware. What any contrast there?
Yeah, well, we have we support both. And the easiest thing for us to set up, obviously, was Hyper-V, because you already run the recovery console on a Windows server. So it was easier to install, to add a role of Hyper-V than setting up an ESX host. But we can also connect to an ESX host in the recovery console and restore directly into an ESX host, including the booting process.
That's really important for our partners to understand that, because the top two hypervisors being VMware and Hyper-V, we can navigate either quite easily, can we? So look at another one. I'm just going to piece this question together here. We were talking, you mentioned something about backup filters earlier, JG, and it says, the question comes up, backup and exclusion. Is this additional to what is already included by default? And I know that probably refers to what you're showing on the default exclusions on the info page.
Yeah, so if I go to, I think the question is about this in the exclusions in the profile, filters and exclusions. This one is, well, if you fill in nothing, it will already respect all the things that I showed you in the files not to backup key. So I don't have to exclude the recycle bin here or the Windows 10 folder. That's already happening. This is an extra layer on top of that. That's what this does.
Yeah, so that really helps us extend to certain log files or EDB or your anti-AV files that change every day. You can ignore those and really start to learn about your environments and customize the filter rules a lot deeper. I've seen lists in some of our partners that are arm's length lists of these paths that I haven't even considered, but they have discovered in their own environments that they were able to filter out and create very clean backup and recovery routines. So it's a very great feature that we have built in for profiles for sure. So that takes us with all our questions. There were some really great questions today. JG, do you have anything else to add or to consider for our friends today?
No, I don't think so. I think we covered most of it. So if all questions are answered, then yeah.
Absolutely. So everyone, thank you very much for joining us today. Again, my name is Keith Young, Principal Sales Engineer for SolarWinds Backup. And we were graciously entertained today by JG Youngsma, who is based out of our Netherlands office, who heads up our backup product in Europe and around the world.
And Keith, to follow up on that, I see a few questions coming in. So everybody who's ready and done, that's I would say goodbye. But for everybody who has a question, they could stick around for just a few minutes so we can go through that.
Sure, absolutely. I'm happy to entertain a little bit longer. Absolutely.
I just see I just see two questions. You say goodbye, and I just see two questions coming in now.
Yeah, why don't we jump on those and help our friends out for sure. Does SolarWinds Backup support Linux operating systems?
Indeed it does. It is there's three main operating systems supported. It's the majority of the Windows supported, like from Windows 7 to everything 2019 and so. The Mac OS X workstations and Linux servers from, well, like almost any Linux server will run. You have to be like a very old, you have to have a very old ancient Linux server if it doesn't support.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Even though sometimes our list sometimes shares only a handful of Linux kernels, we are fairly confident that it will work in most Linux environments. But there's so many flavors, like ice cream in a sense, that variants of an original kernel. So you should have no issue there whatsoever. Next up on the thought, can we exclude archives from the local speed vault?
Yeah, that's like different retention policies on the local speed vault versus the cloud. That's I think that's the question.
Yes.
And well, that's no. First of all, no. But the follow-up situation here is you could debate whether the local speed vault is the right approach, or if you could say if you have the storage already locally, for which reason would you have the local speed vault? Would you have it there in case a big serious disaster happens that you could do a quicker restore? That is totally possible, right? You could, it will definitely go quicker, but it's not instant. Or you could repurpose a local speed vault saying, I don't need the local backup tier there. I'm just going to replace it as a recovery console storage environment. So you could use a local device, maybe the hypervisor itself, as if it's a Hyper-V host. You could say, I'm going to install the software in the virtual machines on the Hyper-V host. That's all fine. You don't touch the Hyper-V host itself. Then you have the Hyper-V host available. You would install the recovery console and let it restore into the local speed vault. But then you're not having the compressed, encrypted, including all retention point data on the local speed vault. You would have the most recent image on your local speed vault, which in case of a disaster is more valuable, I would say. So it's not that local speed vaults are wrong, definitely not, but time goes on and software improves and other options emerge. So you could definitely consider that. And if you would do that, obviously this whole archive, different retention policy is not there anymore.
That's a great point, and really thinking about how to leverage the local speed vault as a part of your business continuity plan, creating standby images, being ready for a disaster is key to that. So we have an interesting question coming in from one of our partners. As a beginner in the MSP industry, what is the best beginning point for understanding backup management? And I think JG and I can share some great ideas on that, but even from a 0 point today, spending time learning from this session here and getting some ideas on how to talk about backup and how to support backup, and then connecting with us for a more deeper discussion to help you expand your backup experience is probably a great way to start. JG, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I would definitely start thinking, if you're beginning in this industry, I would start thinking about this whole industry, at least the backup part, as a service level. Like, it is a service level. You could say to the customer, okay, if something goes wrong, then what? What are you going to do? How important is it? How fast do you need it? How frequent do you need it? Shall we prepare the restores already? Just simulate that they drive up to the office and they see smoke coming out of the roof. And then, what's the question? What's the answer?
That's
and
right.
that is where it starts. And then you can start the discussion. The customer say, oh yeah, if my server is down, I've got enough stuff to do, so I can manage a day, no worries. Some people will say, if it's longer than 10 minutes, it's going to be a massive issue. So right. You need to figure that out. You need to, but our software will give you the power to start on a low level, like a bronze level, or even lower than that if you need, up to a very high level, all in one piece, without heavy local investments, without appliances that you need to run for local caches and all those type of stuff. And that's what I would that's where I would start for sure.
Yeah, that's some great great advice as well. And I think from a SolarWinds backup perspective, becoming, we mentioned it in our presentation today that we could have our junior techs managing our backup solutions for us. And that is a great segue to the discussion for our partner who asked that question. You don't have to be an expert in the solution. You can become an expert with the solution, would be a great way to phrase that, I think. So, get a trial going, get yourself connected and see how it can help transform your business would be a great piece of advice to add to that. Have an amazing weekend, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Okay, so why you have to sit here so long and watch this video till the very end? If we recently communicated via email, you probably noticed the banner next to my name that there is a 30% discount for new backup users. So guys, today I have even better offer for you, and you will see that you don't need to do too much. You only need to register for a trial and to add MCB at your last name. Well, just add your last name, space, and MCB, which, MSP Community Baltics. So I tried to keep it short, very simple, but this will allow you to get 40% discount. So you will get an extra 10% discount because you watched this video till the end, and I'm very grateful for it. So the only things that matter is if you want to be applied for this discount, you have to sign a contract with us before the June 30th of 2021. And of course, the contract has to be at least 1 year long. There are fines that apply if you would cancel. I would not consider someone doing that, but it's just a thing that has to be done. So very thank you for sticking till the end, and hopefully we will see you more. The last thing, guys, if you feel that this content is something that you like to watch, that you would like to see more, please contact me, like, add some comments into here. Let us know what kind of topics you would like to hear in the future, what is very important to you, and we'll see you in future. We will try to make more and more content for you guys. See ya. Bye bye.